I had the start button. There we go.
Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to today's Wisdom Wednesday. My name is Pumla, and I'm going to be your co host for today's session. Welcome and have a very good morning. Please feel free to engage with us on our chat function as well as on Menti. We will post the link on the chat function so that you can then engage with us. Today's session is about finding study success with hacks. So we will be sharing with you some study hacks which will assist you in finding study success. I would like to introduce my co-host. Her name is Carol Fenter. Carol is an experienced leader, social worker, and EWP specialist with diverse skills in clinical, tertiary education, and corporate environments. Carol started a career at Sanka Alcohol and Drug Center in East London, and she has worked for numerous nonprofit organizations. She's passionate about helping individuals to reach their full potential, and education and awareness about mental health issues such as addiction, burnout, and stress. Carol does our Wisdom Wednesday as well as our study circles. And welcome, Carol, and over to you.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome, Pumla. Hello, and welcome to everybody that has joined us. Lovely to see you all, and I hope there's some familiar faces from our previous Wisdom Wednesdays and maybe even from some of our study circles. So, welcome to everybody. We are going to spend the next hour together looking at some study hacks, as Pumla has shared with you, and really looking at reading as a study skill and how to get the best out of your reading. But of course, I'm going to just share some other tips with you that you might find helpful. So I thought let's start just by having a little check in with everybody. I mean, can you believe that it is the middle of the year? I had somebody say to me yesterday, let's set the meeting for the first week of June. And I went, okay. And then it took me a moment to go, wait a minute, you mean the first week of July? Because we almost, 10 days away from July. I actually can't believe it. I'm sure you feel the same. But let's do a quick check in. Let's pause, let's reflect. How is your study success looking so far this year? If you are studying, how is that going? Are you making some progress? Are you feeling like you're getting on top of things? Um, but if you're still thinking about studying, if you're still trying to get yourself there to register and to actually commit to some studies, how far are you with that, and where is your mind so far with that? So let's hear from you. If you are comfortable, you're very welcome to contribute your thoughts here on the Mentimeter. Pumla has kindly put the link into the chat box. So if you just click on it, it will open up a box for you where you can then type in your comment and submit it for us. Alternatively, if you have your phone available, excuse me, got a frog in the throat this morning. If you have your phone available, you can just scan the QR code. It will open it up on your phone and you can just give us your anonymous input. Alternatively, feel free to use the chat if that's easier for you as well. So let's hear how is your studies going, or those plans to studies. Um, have you put steps in place? Have you started to figure out what you'd like to do your research maybe? But share with us, where are you at right now? Somebody has shared they're going well so far. That's lovely to hear. Thank you for sharing. Always good to hear when they are going well. We put a lot of expectations on ourselves, don't we? And sometimes we put ourselves under a lot of stress, and it does get a bit challenging. It was tough with all the life humps, but I managed to finish. Just have to post my POE. Well, congratulations and well done to whoever shared that. That is wonderful. And I like that. Life humps. Thank you for that. Life has humps, doesn't it? It sort of bounces and goes along. And I like that. I might pinch that from you, life's humps. But well done that despite the challenges and the curveballs and the humps in your way, that you managed to pull through and that you are just about done. So then I'm looking forward to seeing you at graduation one day. Somebody else says they're doing well, but feel that you can do more. Well, great. I know we sit with that often. Hey, what is enough? What is giving of our best? Especially if we set very high standards for ourselves, we can be quite critical of ourselves and keep feeling that we need to do more and more. But excuse me. But sometimes, just knowing that you're giving of your best is all right. And it's okay to have a few off days or to have those days where you need to go a little bit slower. And then the days where your energy is high, you can jump in and get it done again. I had one of those days yesterday. Although I was busy, I just couldn't quite get through to things and I just didn't feel like I could do enough and I was doing enough. It made me quite anxious. So I made the decision last night to just switch off everything. I went and I did some exercising. I got a good meal. I got to bed early. And this morning I felt like I can face the world again and that I can get more on top of things. Somebody else says it's a slow start, but going well. It's a mindset change. Absolutely. It is. It is about getting our mind in the right space when we want to study or when we've got things to get done. Good morning, family. Everything is going well, but I think I still need a study partner or maybe a WhatsApp group so that we can help each other. Wonderful. Maybe whoever put that comment, if you maybe want to put it in the chat later and see if there's anybody on the session today who maybe is already in a WhatsApp group that you could join. Else, I'm sure in one of our study circles, which I think we have 2 coming up next week, maybe if you are joining any of those, you could also use that opportunity to connect with other students and to get yourself into the right WhatsApp group or find that study buddy. Somebody else says it's been a while since my undergrad and now I'm doing my postgrad and oh my, it's tough. Sometimes I want to quit, but I remind myself of the end goal. And then, sorry, oops, there's me scrolling, trying to see the rest of your message, but it's cut it off. But sorry about that, but yes, it is tough, I know, but well done for taking the leap and for being so courageous. And you know what? You got to take it one day at a time. Sometimes one module at a time, sometimes one page at a time, but you'll get there. So don't quit. Keep that end in mind. Remember why you're doing this and what you're doing this for, and then visualize yourself at that graduation and how amazing you are going to feel once you have that certificate in your hand and you can frame it and put it where you can see it. And then somebody else quickly said, good, feel like I'm growing every day. I love it. Well done and congrats. That's so positive. Thank you all for sharing. I do appreciate it. It's lovely to connect with you. Right, so let's look a little bit at today. We've done our introductions. We've shared with you that we're going to look at study success with effective reading, learning, and studying techniques. So what we'll go through is really through it all, what does successful studying look like? We're going to look at basic reading skills. I'm going to share with you about some speed reading that might be helpful and just other tips in terms of helping you get through the volume of work that you need to read through. But very importantly, how do you make sense of it and how do you process that information? You'll remember in the last Wisdom Wednesday, if you were here, we looked at memory. So we're kind of taking a bit of a step back now. How you process and read what you need to read to get yourself to that point where it's in your memory and you can retrieve that information when you need it. We're also going to just look again at those different learning styles so that you can make sure that you're using the style that works best for you. We'll look a little bit at some tips around overcoming procrastination and how to stay motivated even when those life humps happen and when you're having a bit of a slower day. And then just the importance of how, to stay motivated, you keep monitoring your success. All righty, so I thought I'd start off with sharing with you some did you knows about reading. Because when I prepared for this session today, I did some reading. It's as important to me to read when I'm going to do a webinar, when I'm going to do a counseling session with someone, when I supervise my students. Who are social work students at the Wits University, I always have to do reading in preparation as well. So I did it for this webinar, and I found some did you knows that I thought would be interesting. But did you know that readers are less likely to go to prison, to use drugs, or to drop out of school? So obviously that's looking more, at kids that learn to read and learn to enjoy reading. And then people who read are generally kinder and engage in more charity and more volunteer work. And then this is quite a hectic one, but globally, 1 in 5 adults cannot read. So 1 out of 5 adults are illiterate and don't have the luxury of being able to read and being able to even study or to educate themselves in any way. The average person reads around 230 words a minute. And if you're interested to find out how many words you read per minute, do go just Google that. Even on YouTube, I found a number of videos that help you with different tests to determine how many words do you read a minute. But they do say that individuals who have been classified as genius, like Einstein and even Napoleon, could read up to 2,000 words a minute. And I must say, when I was reading through that, it reminded me of my late mom, who was definitely a speed reader. I mean, she could literally read a book in 2 or 3 days. And I mean, she was working, she'd only read at night. But I would watch her read sometimes and how she just sort of skimmed the page and turned it over. And I remember once asking her, like, gosh, Mom, do you even know what you're reading? And she looked at me like I was crazy and said, of course I do. So she had learned how to speed read. And I do wonder how many words she could read a minute, but because it was pretty impressive to watch her and to see how she could quickly read through a book. It takes me a long time, mostly because I tend to read when I'm tired at night, and it's something I actually want to brush up on. But fast reading helps to preserve your vision and it protects your eyes. So learning to read a little bit faster is a way of helping to protect your vision and to protect your eyes. Then this was a really interesting one. But did you know that in the Middle Ages, books were so rare and they were so valued that books were chained up? They were often chained up in like the city or the town or the village square. There was always like a square within the city where, the townspeople would gather to hear important notices, or to have town meetings or meetings with the village. And books were so prized. There were so few books that they were actually chained up so that people couldn't steal them. And I guess when you think about that, that's where the concept of a library came from, because eventually books were then put into, well, firstly churches and then into what became libraries, where people could share the books and come and sit and read books and then put them back for the next person to enjoy them. We take books for granted now, don't we? They're just everywhere. And I know you can't see my office at the moment, but I have my own library in the background full of books. And I'm quite guilty that I've stopped reading. I very rarely read. And it's something I need to get back into. So also, here's an opportunity to hear from you a little bit. But what do you like to read? If you think about it, and if you had a choice, if you walked into a library today and you had to go choose a book to read, what sort of book are you normally attracted to? Or if it's not even a book, if it is just something online, what do you like to read? And I'll be honest that the first comment there, I wanted to test that the Menti was working, but I put that I like to read thrillers. I like to read whodunit kind of books, murder mysteries and serial killers and things like that. And I do like to read biographies written by, people as well, famous people, celebrities, successful people. I do like to read sort of self-help books as well. But as I say, I've been slacking a little bit. So yeah, you can click on the link, the Menti link in the chat if you'd like to. That should open this one up. Else, if it's not working for you, please just put your comments in the chat and just now we'll go have a look and see what we enjoy reading together. And somebody else did comment novels. I guess those could be romantic novels. They could also be thrillers or sci-fi. So would be good just to hear. What do you like to read other than your study material, which hopefully you do like to read as well? But let's move on from there a little bit and look at why is reading important. It's one of the first skills as a little child when we even start preschool. They start teaching us how to count and they start teaching us how to read. We start to read the alphabet and learn the alphabet. And maybe you've heard the saying that you actually read for a degree or a qualification. So I recently went to the graduation for the doctorates at Wits University. My husband was fortunate; he got his doctorate. And when they even announced, and they were speaking up on stage about these degrees, they would say, so and so has read for the qualification of whatever it might be. And that really is how we speak academically. You read for a qualification. And there lies the very then, I think magical tip in terms of how do you get to be successful in your studies. It's about reading. It's what you read, and you probably are going to read a heck of a lot if you want to do well and if you want to get that particular certificate or qualification that you're looking at. So, to state the obvious, reading is an important way to gain information and will underpin much of your academic studies, including the research that you do, preparing to write assignments, revising for exams, and following up on information that you've learned. So maybe you do watch a video or you just look into a particular topic, you're always going to end up reading, whether you're reading on a screen, whether you're reading through a manual, whether you are reading through a textbook. Without being able to read and without reading properly, you're not going to have the success that you would like. And most academic reading is motivated by the need to find and understand information and then to develop ideas. So that's that critical thinking. We could read somebody else's thoughts and materials, but we have to create our own thoughts as well. We have to develop our own ideas and sometimes to argue about that as well. Sometimes I will read an article and in my head I'm arguing because I disagree or I have another point of view. And that's okay. That's where critical thinking comes, and that's where new ideas come from as well. If we critically question what other people are writing or what other people, have written. So perhaps you've had that as you go along as well. So when it comes to reading for your studies, it's important to hold in mind that the way you read is going to be very different from what you read for pleasure or what you read in your leisure time, if you do have time for that or if you do make time for that. So, of course, me reading a Stephen King novel is not going to help in terms of any sort of academic learning. There's no theories in there. Yes, it's going to help maybe with my vocabulary. It's going to help in terms of getting my eyes fit for reading if I need to do academic reading. But we can skim the information a lot easier because we're just trying to get the basics of a story through that reading. We're not really engaging with the information and trying to process it and question it and understand it. So yeah, you will also choose what you read in terms of a novel. You're going to read it from cover to cover because you want to get the full story right from the beginning to the happily ever after at the end. But with academic reading, it's going to be a lot more selective. There might be only certain chapters that you're going to read, or only certain pages that you're going to read. I think of some of the books on my bookshelf here that I used for my master's studies a few years back. I've put little tabs in them that show the pages and the areas that I read. I have never read those textbooks from start to finish, and I don't think I ever will. But I might in time think of another, or look and see that there's another chapter or a particular couple of pages that I want to read around a theory or around some information that's going to help me with my work right now. And by reading effectively, you learn to question and survey the text to gain a better understanding of the subject. All right, so not from start to finish, but you learn how to survey it. You learn to see where the important parts are, and that helps you to gain better understanding of the subject that you are learning. And reading is a skill. So even though all of us joined yet together today, we are very blessed. We know how to read. We one of the 4 individuals out of 5 that can read. And that is a blessing. It is a luxury. It's a privilege that we are able to read. But you can improve your reading. You know, you can cut back on the unnecessary stuff that you read through, the unnecessary time, especially when you are under pressure. And you can learn to read in a more focused manner. So when it comes to reading, there are 5 basic skills of reading. And I won't go into them too deeply, but if you would, like to learn a little bit more, you're welcome to read up on it, and to have a look. But there's fluency. So fluency as a skill is basically how things will sort of flow for us. If we are talking with, expressing what we've read, we're able to speak to it very fluently. We can find the words that we need. We can help somebody else understand what we're trying to say. But also as we're reading, we're able to understand the flow of the information, and able to process that. Vocabulary is, of course, the words that we use. So some people have a marvelous vocabulary, and it does come from reading. They can sometimes say big words that you kind of think to yourself, I don't know what on earth that word means. I must remember to go look it up. I have a colleague like that. When I listen to her speaking, I'm often so inspired because she really uses big words, and she uses them in the right context, and she uses them so eloquently. And I know if I did a little bit more reading and brushed up on my reading, I'd probably awaken my vocabulary again, or expand my vocabulary and sound just as impressive. Phonics is also, the sound then of words. So as you are reading them, you can sound those words out properly to yourself, and therefore understand them. And then phonic awareness is where you are aware, for example, of, the PH sound is often when you read it. And understanding, sometimes noticing words that, the H will be silent or the C might be silent. So that skills you've learned from a young age already, as you learned English and as you learned to read. But the more you're familiar with that, of course, the quicker you can read, because you are identifying, or your brain is identifying the words without having to stop and trying to make sense of a word, which of course will slow you down. But the 5th skill, overarching all of the others, is the comprehension and how you make sense of the information that you are reading. So are you able to talk to what you've just read. If you read a chapter, for example, are you able to read a novel and somebody asks you, what was that book about? You know, that you're able to share the basics of that story. Or if you are reading something academically, you can explain the theory to the person that you read afterwards, or some of the key headlines or tips of that particular chapter, because you were able to make sense of it and able to comprehend it. So let's have a watch of this video here. What is comprehension? And Pumla, if you just give me a thumbs up that the sound is playing on your side.
Comprehension. Comprehension is the ability to understand what you are reading, and it is a particularly important skill to have. Whether you are trying to understand a story, news article, or a secret love letter, comprehension can help extract meaning from the text and better realize what the author is trying to say. Did you know? The more you read and the more words you know, your comprehension skills will continue to develop. Children who read for more than 30 minutes per day are significantly better at comprehension. So, make sure you grab a book and get reading. Have a look at our top tips for improving your comprehension skills. Pace yourself and break up the text into smaller sections. Imagine the comprehension is a big bar of chocolate. Take little pieces. Look for the main idea of the text. Is it fiction or non-fiction? What is the story about? Underline or repeat key phrases. Use a dictionary for any words you do not know. Reading comprehension is not a memory test. Go back to the text to double check you have understood what the writer is trying to say.
All right, so there's a lovely, just short video around comprehension and how really the more we read, the easier it becomes to develop or to sharpen that skill on comprehending. And yes, I know academically you're not reading a novel or a particular story, but it's still so important that you are comprehending and understanding what you are reading. Because remember, if you're not, your brain isn't processing and storing that information because it's not engaging with it. It's going to just let that information go. And that makes it so much harder when you're sitting and trying to write an assignment that you need to submit, or if it's an assessment or an exam or a test that you need to do, because then you've got to go redo and reread that information because you didn't comprehend it, because you didn't understand it. Whoops, let's move on from this page. Now it wants to play us the video again. No, we don't want to watch it again. All right. So where do you start then when it comes to reading effectively and to sharpening up that skill of reading? So the first thing that you need to do, it's the preparation even before you start. You know, before you sit down and start reading, you need to think about, well, how much information do I need here? What detail am I going to require? Do I just need an overall sort of basic understanding so that I can just, write that particular section of the assignment? Or is it going to take a lot of my time and a lot of my understanding so that I really can put things like in point form or describe them in really great detail? Because once you know that, you can get a better understanding of how much time you should put aside, and when you are reading, how focused you do need to be, what sort of notes you need to take. and how much time you should put aside. Will it be an hour to get through that volume of work, or is it something you could quickly just read through in 10 minutes because you're just trying to get that overall understanding? So it helps you to set those realistic goals in terms of what you want to accomplish, rather than feeling completely overwhelmed because you're looking at a manual or you're scrolling through an article, that you have on your computer, and it's pages and pages and pages, and you don't know where to start. And then, it's helpful to approach the reading by developing a basic understanding of the topic beforehand. So before you even tackle that particular chapter that you need to go through, maybe just even Google it. Try to just get a quick overview of that particular subject or that particular topic before you even start to engage with it, and the material that you have more in depth. So some tips that I can share with you for reading more effectively. Firstly, your reading list is going to provide you with the good starting point for the reading material that's relevant for your course. So make sure you've got that on hand. Whatever you are studying, you're going to be giving a list of readings. Some of them are recommended, some of them are non-negotiables, and they're the ones you have to go through. Have that list close by. Make sure that you get hold of the material that you need so that you can start as soon as possible. If they're articles that are online, that have been, sent to you, whether it is via email, for example, or there's a portal that you log into, a portal, create a folder where it's neatly labeled and identified so that you can quickly go to that. I can't tell you how much time that saved me when I was doing my master's, that I had put everything into a folder that I could quickly go into. So, for example, I had 3 main modules. One was the counseling and clinical aspect. The second was group work and facilitation. The third one was community work and organizational sort of processes. And under each of those, I had folders where I then could find particular readings like advanced counseling skills, trauma debriefing skills, whatever it might be. And I could quickly go into those folders and find the readings that I needed. If I needed to reference them, they were there. If I needed particular sections, they were there. And then yes, go beyond your reading list to find additional material. It could be journal articles, it could be ebooks, it could be books that you want to get hold of, that if you're like me and a little bit old school, I get a bit tired of reading on the screen. Maybe that shows my age. I do like to have the pieces of paper in front of me. I do like to have the books that I can page through and that I can put my sticky notes in, to help me find the right page and what I'm needing at that particular time. So don't be afraid to go to some of your charity shops. There's a lovely shop close to me that I spent a lot of time at while I was studying, because I found some amazing textbooks that were almost free. They were so cheap, but they had additional information that I could read that would help me understand certain aspects of my studies a little bit more. And then be selective. You can't read everything, and you can't read it from start to finish. So be selective, mark which chapters you're going to have to read to, or read, just read, mark those chapters so you can find them quickly and save yourself time. If some of the textbooks and things you have are not relevant, put them away. Maybe you'll just need them for some additional reading later if you have the time, but don't overwhelm yourself with the volume that you have, and don't find too much. You're not trying to write a whole new book on this particular subject. So you don't have to read every single book that is out there or every single article that is out there. And some of the things you can do is, surveying the text. So sort of looking through it, look at the table of contents and see, yes, that chapter, I need that one. Go put a sticky note there. make yourself familiar with what the chapter headings are in that article or in that particular book. Sometimes there's a summary at the beginning that you could quickly read through, especially for a chapter that can give you that overview of the information that you're needing. And then also scanning is a good skill. Scan through the text to get a feel of how it's written. What are some of the key words that jump out at you? What are some of the illustrations or graphs that are there that might immediately give you a bit of an understanding as you look at them? And then you can read through the material to make more sense and to add, that further information onto that graphic or onto that illustration that is there. It's going to give you a really good idea of how much of that information in that particular chapter is going to be helpful and which are the key parts you want to extract from it. Then when you're reading, read critically. So this is where it is a little bit more detailed, where you need to read it to make some sort of sense. And I'm just going to use a chapter of a book as an example here, or a particular article that you have on hand. So you've decided that it's relevant. You're going to take some time to analyze it, read through it once, question it. Does this make sense to me? Is this a good reading, or is it just too short, or there's not enough information here? I certainly came across a lot of those during my studies. There was maybe like one paragraph or one section out of a whole article that was relevant to me. And I would just highlight that so I knew it was there in my pile of readings, but I knew not to bother with the other pages. So ask yourself some of these questions. Who is the author? What is the source? You can't be using just Wikipedia all the time. That's not a good source to have. Is it a credible source? Is it just, somebody who's put some information out there that really isn't even helpful or is not accurate information? Ask yourself, what is the main argument here? What is the crux of the material here? What evidence does the author use to support their argument? Do you agree with that? I often come across stuff when I'm reading around mental health and when I'm reading about addiction because I'm preparing maybe for a counseling session or for a conference that I'm speaking at. And I'll read something and think, no, I don't agree with that. My experience is very different. And my thoughts around this are very different. And I'll share with you a recent article I was reading to help me prepare for a conference that I have in September, where I am speaking on addiction. The author was saying, that all addiction is rooted in traumatic experiences. And as I read that, I sort of thought to myself, over the 25 years that I've been counseling people struggling with addiction, there are many people that didn't have a trauma. But then I asked myself, what is a trauma? For some people, a trauma will be something significant, like a loss. For others, it might be something that others of us cope with okay, like a divorce in a family or changing school. So I had to ask myself a lot of questions, and was I agreeing? And as I thought a little bit deeper, were there aspects I maybe did agree with and aspects I didn't agree with? And then can you use this information? All right, so really analyze it. Is this going to be helpful? Will this help me with an assignment, a report, a presentation, an assessment I need to write? If not, discard it. Don't keep it there to confuse you. Rather put it away, shred it, whatever you want to do, and look for the articles that are helpful. Making notes is key. You do have to make notes. You don't want to reread the information all the time. So whatever notes work for you, and I've shared this in some past Wisdom Wednesdays where we've looked at even like a spider diagram where you just jot down some of the key words around that concept. Are you one that likes to make sort of point form notes? Do you just like to highlight it and then write some keywords? You need to know what works for you in terms of how in-depth those notes should be. You don't want to rewrite the whole article or the whole textbook, but have those keywords so that your brain associates it with all the information that you have read. And it's almost like a trigger. When you read the word addiction, you'll think, right, trauma, Is there trauma involved? Is it genetic? It immediately starts to make you think about everything else that you read around addiction. Taking regular breaks is important, and I have a short video just now I'll share with you. You can't just sit and read and study for like 3 hours and try to cram it in. Your brain is not going to cope with that, and it's not going to process it. So read for short periods of time, and they recommend even 20 to 30 minutes, and then take a little bit of a break. You're giving your eyes a break, you're giving your brain a break, and your brain needs that break to start to process the information and to move it through to your long-term memory. Also very helpful is to read in a positive environment. You can't read in an environment where there's a lot of noise or where there's a distraction constantly, around you, or somebody that keeps, bothering you, because you've got to start from scratch again. You think to yourself, what did I just read? You respond to the person, or you listen to the distraction, or you look at the distraction, whether it's your phone or whatever it is, and then you have to start from scratch again. So you might be wasting valuable time. Whereas it is an environment that's quiet, you might be able to very easily sit and engage with the information and be able to process it. A lovely strategy that you can read, that you could use to help you read, is called SQRRR. And that just stands for survey, to question, to read, to recall, and to review. So this is a lovely strategy that you could implement that's going to make sure that you really engage with the material that you're reading, that you process it, that you comprehend it, and that you're able to use it when you need it. So to survey is to look through the material, as I've already shared with you, even see some of the graphs, some of the graphics that might be there. You've surveyed the chapters to highlight which ones you need. You've looked for some keywords. So you've kind of just skimmed through it to get a very basic understanding. Then it's about questioning yourself. Is this text helpful? Is this information helpful to me? Is this whole article or chapter actually going to help me? Or am I wasting my time? And is it going to answer the questions that I might need answered for that particular assignment? Then you're going to read, and this time you read it a little bit more carefully and more detailed. This is where you're going to make your notes as well, because you're really engaging with the information now and starting to comprehend it and read it in depth. Then the next R is for recall. So you put the text and your notes aside, and you try to recall the information that you've read. So you can then also ask yourself, all right, what is the main concept about addiction that this author is sharing, or that this chapter is explaining? And if you can answer that for yourself and you can recall it, then you've understood it, and that you can start moving on from there. And then also to review is the last R, where you might review or reread the text to help with your understanding and your learning, and to clarify any of the points that you might need to clarify. And that's really where you're going to be now studying, especially if you are writing a test or an assignment. So speed reading is a valuable skill. And as I said to you, I always admired my mom, that she was a speed reader. I don't know that I am, but I definitely do see, as I read more, I start to read a little bit faster. Our eyes definitely become reading fit, and our brain becomes more reading fit. But here's some tips for you that can help you to speed up your reading and get through more information quicker.
Is your bookshelf full of books that you have never read because you don't have the time? I'm going to show you how to speed read. Read all those books on your bookshelf faster than you ever thought possible. Check this out. The average person reads 200 to 250 words per minute. There's no reason that you shouldn't be able to double, triple, or even quadruple that with these very simple steps. The first key to reading faster is number one, when you get the book, read the table of contents, read the review, read the chapter summaries. These are often the most important things that the author wants you to get from their text. So by reading these, your brain will be aware and looking for them as you read. Next, don't sub-vocalize. In other words, whenever you read, don't say the words to yourself. Don't read to yourself. Even if you're saying them very softly to yourself, the act of saying them is going to slow your reading speed down. Do not sub-vocalize the words. Some people will even chew gum to keep themselves from saying the words as they read because there's no other way that they can fight that. Studies also show that if you listen to music, especially classical music, when you read, it's going to improve your reading speed. I don't know why this is. Maybe because classical music relaxes your brain, but whatever the reason is, listening to music while you read, it has been shown to speed up your reading speed. So get some Mozart or Beethoven and read faster. This next step of forcing your eye to move across the page by using your finger or a pen is the most important part of speed reading. Whenever you see a sentence and the sentence says, "The boy ran to the store," most people will read that sentence this way: the boy ran to, the boy ran to the boy ran to the store. In other words, it's called visual regression. What your eye is doing, is it's going back and it's reading all the words that you've read before. And it's doing it so fast that you don't even realize that you're doing it. And that is the biggest thing that slows you down when reading. It's the visual regression. Your eye. So instead, whenever you read, take your finger or take a pen or a pencil or a marker or a highlighter and read with that and force your finger or force that pen across the page. That forcing the pen or your finger across the page and then force your eye to follow your finger. That alone should double your reading speed because your eye is not bouncing all around. The next key to speed reading is learning to see groups of words. For example, if you see the three words Statue of Liberty, you've seen it so many times and you know it goes together. Your eye is trained to see that phrase as a group, Statue of Liberty. You're not reading Statue of Liberty as individual words. If you can learn to do that and learn to see in groups of words as you read, it is going to speed up your reading speed. The next step to speed reading is to read the first sentence of each paragraph and read the last sentence of each paragraph, but kind of zoom through the middle. And here's why. The first sentence of each paragraph often tells you what it's going to be about, and then the last sentence of each paragraph sums it up. And if you read those two and then just kind of zoom through the middle, you will probably get the gist of that paragraph. And the final step to speed reading is go faster than you think is possible. When you're using your finger or that marker and you're pushing your eye across the page and forcing your eye to follow your finger, go faster than you think is possible. You will be amazed at how much you can remember and retain and the speeds that you can go at. But the important thing is to push yourself and go faster than you think is possible, and you will be reading faster than you ever thought before. One of the biggest things in speed reading is you need to know how fast you're currently reading so you can gauge your progress. Click the link right here and I'll show you how to calculate your reading speed, or you can click the link down below in the description. Now go on guys, go ahead and click that link. It's absolutely free.
All right, so you can find that video if you would like to use him to test your speed reading. All right, so I really find that so helpful, that thing about visual regression. If you picked up what he said there, I even wrote it down. But the importance then of, as you're reading, using something like a pencil or your finger or, even a marker, and you sort of highlighting the words as you're going along, because then, like he says, your eyes don't jump around. And that means that your eyes aren't going to get so tired and your brain doesn't get so tired. So yes, important to take those breaks and rest your eyes and rest your brain, but also how helpful it is then if you are using a pointer that can help you read. So some of the tips, and I know he touched on this, but this is around reading But now I'm also sort of sharing with you some general study tips here, and just to help you get through the volume of work, and knowing that everybody's always pushed for time and trying to find the time to get through everything. So use chunking, and he shared with you, if you think of the video with the Statue of Liberty, that's actually chunking words as well. And another way that you sometimes do this is through seeing a symbol. Like you might see the symbol for McDonald's. You don't even have to read the word McDonald's because your brain already knows that that M is the McDonald's sign. So you don't even need to read it. So use chunking. And you know, the more you read, the more easy that becomes. Comprehend what you read. So question yourself, check that you've understood it, and summarize what you read. However you take notes, so important. That's going to make it quicker for you when you need to prepare for that assignment, or you need to prepare for, as I say, a test or an exam. You might find podcasts that you could listen to that would be helpful. Podcasts are wonderful. There's so many out there as well that you could listen to, especially if you are an auditory learner, if you like to hear things. But also you might find helpful videos that will work for you. And again, there are so many videos out there. You can find lovely short ones that just give you some examples or some basic understanding, or there are longer ones that you could watch. But look for videos. You'll be very surprised what is out there. As it's already been said today, read some additional articles and material related to the topic. It will just help you broaden your understanding of it. And then, do you know anyone in that field or in that particular profession? Perhaps you can engage with them. You know, perhaps you can ask them some questions, or you could shadow them or observe them. Or if you're trying to understand how they use certain concepts or processes of the material in their everyday work, you could ask them to practically share with you, well, how do you do that? You know, when I supervise students who are studying counseling, for example, we'll watch a lot of videos where people are doing counseling, so they get an example of it. But then also I can share with them like how to structure some questions when they're trying to get information or trying to support accounts, you know, someone. So engage with that professional that might already be in the field, and they can teach you, and hearing it from them or seeing how they do it might really help you out. Don't forget about self-care. So looking after yourself, getting enough sleep, taking your multivitamins, your nutrients, getting that into your body, eating healthy foods, getting a bit of exercise in, even if it is just going for a walk, if it is taking those short breaks, and doing those intentional things that you do to look after yourself. So you don't start to neglect yourself while you're studying because you're trying to fit so much in. Self-care is important because it recharges your battery and helps you to get the energy to be able to study and to be able to comprehend and process the information that you're going through. So take breaks. You're not a machine. You can't just keep going 24 hours. You do need to get up. You do need to walk about a little bit. You do need to give your brain that break as well. And reset when you need to. I was actually sharing that with a friend just before we joined into this session today. She was saying to me, she has so much work today. She's completely overwhelmed and she's avoiding it. She doesn't know what to do. And I said to her, you know what? We're all allowed to have days where we are a little bit tired and maybe slower than usual and we're not as motivated. So I said to her, she needs to reset. Why doesn't she walk away from her desk, go make herself a cup of tea, just maybe go sit in her garden or on her balcony if she can, just take a moment to separate herself from her work, reset herself, and then come back and face it. So I'll hear just now if that's worked for her. But here's a bit of a tip about how to avoid being overwhelmed and how to take those breaks.
You can study for a half hour. It doesn't take a half-hour break to recharge your batteries. For most people, about 5 minutes. And this is where you go away, do something fun for 5 minutes. Call a friend, talk to a child, talk to a parent, a roommate. Enjoy some music. Do something you enjoy and actually say, this is my treat for having studied for 30 minutes effectively. Go back and here's what happens. Your efficiency is nearly 100%. Study a half hour, take a break. Study a half hour, study a half hour. Now, had she done that over a course of 6 hours, she would have got about 5.5 hours of serious studying and about a half hour of total break time.
So that takes some self-discipline, doesn't
can
it? You
study
have
for
to
a half
actually, you know, be disciplined to only keep that break to 5 minutes. But if you put on a bit of music while you're making a cup of tea or coffee or taking a quick walk outside just to get a bit of sun on you and a bit of fresh air, reset, recharge for those 5 minutes, and then go sit down for another 30 minutes. You won't feel resentful and like you're not getting to do anything. You're getting those short breaks where you can still connect with people around you, but you're managing to fit in that time, but keeping those energy levels up so that you're comprehending what you need to. Then remember your learning style. If you've joined in a previous Wisdom Wednesday, you might be familiar with this. But here's a quick reminder that we all learn differently. We all have different learning styles. I know that I'm a very visual person. So even if it is that I've taken notes and I can see the word that will help trigger things for me, or if I look at a picture or a graph, that is how I recall things. And that's, that really works for me. Some people are auditory, that they learn by hearing. So those podcasts or speaking to someone, reading out things aloud, going to slow down your reading, but it might be what you need to help you learn when you're stuck. And then a word I always struggle to pronounce, but kinethesis or kinethetics. Oh my word, I really can't say it today. I haven't had enough coffee, but this is learning by doing. So you might be a person that needs to do things, to touch things, to feel things, to draw things, to do things more hands-on, because that's going to help you learn. And maybe something as basic as using the pointer and feeling that you're doing something with your hands at that time might be helpful. And then reading and writing. So yes, sometimes some people read just, or learn, should I say, just by writing things out. And more people learn as well by reading, by comprehending, having a dictionary close at hand that they can go through them, and check that they understand the meaning of a word, and note taking. You can have a mixture of these styles for sure. So make sure that you use what you need to use to help you learn. And don't forget that creating a study space, even if you don't have the luxury of your own office, just creating your own little space that feels like yours. And don't sit and study on your bed if you possibly can avoid that, even if it's putting a chair next to your bed, because you're going to disrupt your sleep, because your brain is now going to associate your bed with learning and being awake. And then when you're trying to learn on your bed, your brain is associating your bed with sleeping. So you're going to get drowsy and start to relax. So just even if you put a chair next to your bed and learn there rather than sitting on your bed, that is helpful. Try to limit the noise and disruptions. I've spoken to that. Put them away. If your phone is distracting you, put it away for a few minutes. Take a break from social media when you're under the crunch. You might just have to not go onto TikTok or Instagram or whatever it might be for a while and tell people, sorry guys, focusing on my studies, taking a week break, see you on the flip side, whatever it might be. And then ensure you have everything that you need ready. Do you have the books? Do you have the readings? Do you just have some basic stationery? Have you got a page with the link to different websites and different videos that you maybe need to watch while you're preparing? Get yourself as ready as possible so you don't waste time. Use a diary or a notice board to keep track of those deadlines and those important dates, and know what your mandatory minimum is. So if it's 30 minutes a day that you need to study to get through that material, you need to find those 30 minutes. If it's one full day a week, like a Saturday or a Sunday, that's your mandatory minimum. You need to then commit to doing that, and you need to be self-disciplined to do it, because else you're going to fall behind. And how do you overcome procrastination? Well, the truth is, only you can do that. Sometimes it is because you're overwhelmed and you think there's just too much to get through. I can't do this. So understand, firstly, where is that procrastination coming from? What is that block that's stopping you from getting going? Is it because you are distracted? Is it because you're not even sure why you chose this course? Is it because you've forgotten your purpose and your reason for doing it? So procrastination really is just that avoidance of doing what you know needs to be done by a certain deadline, and then leaving it to the last minute where you fall, completely off the rails, because you're like, oh my goodness, I've got nothing done and now this is due tomorrow. So get into a positive habit, because procrastination becomes a negative habit of just sort of making excuses sometimes of why you're delaying getting things done. Keep yourself motivated by managing your time and managing yourself. We've all only got 24 hours in the day, so you need to do the most that you can and manage your time appropriately. Swallow the frog. Sometimes you just need to bite the bullet, as they say, but swallow that frog. Get the worst part of it out the way so that you can maybe focus on the parts of it that you do enjoy. Start small. So yes, it's a lot, but just starting, breaking it down into those small bites that you can manage will help you to get some sort of progress and help you get some momentum. And track your progress. Maybe write down all the assignments that you have and mark them off as you do it. Or if you've got 10 chapters you need to get through or 10 articles, write them down and highlight them so you can track, I'm 50% of the way there, I'm getting there, I'm making progress. Reward yourself, whether it is those 5-minute breaks, whether it is that I'm going to take this Saturday off and I'm just going to relax or be with my friends or have a pajama day, or do whatever it is that I want to do because I've worked hard this week. And then always remind yourself of your why. Why are you doing this? If you don't know, you need to think that why and even put it up somewhere you can see it. Write it down. Take ownership of it. Remember that you are doing this for a better future for yourself, a better job for yourself, a salary for your children so that they can have a better life, for your personal development. What is your why? And write it down. So as I end off now, I just want to share a quick video with you that you can use, because I have said to you as we've gone along that your brain gets tired and that your eyes get tired, especially when you're reading and you're trying to take in all this material. So here is a quick exercise you can use at any time when you are feeling tired. It's yoga for tired eyes. Have a look.
Hi, my name is Meredith Amon with the UC Health Integrative Medicine team. We're going to take the next minute to do a quick, easy exercise designed to relieve tired eyes from looking at a computer screen or sitting and standing under fluorescent lights. We'll begin by taking a nice, comfortable seat, sitting up nice and tall. Relax your shoulders, bring the shoulders onto the back of your body. And we're going to begin by just rubbing the palms together. Create a little warmth in the hands with a little friction, and you can do this for 5, 10, 15 seconds. And then once the hands feel nice and warm, we're going to cover the eyes, placing the heels of the hands on the cheekbones, resting the palms on the brow bones, and letting the fingertips rest on your skull. Let your shoulders melt away, let the eyes be closed, and just notice and feel the warmth of the hands and the darkness. Notice if you see any flashes of light, any colors. Let your breath be natural and smooth. And then when the lights and the colors fade to black, open your eyes into the darkness and release the palms back onto the thighs. And this is something you could do for as long as you'd like and as often as you'd like. Thank you.
There you go, short and sweet and simple. It helps you to get a break. It helps you to focus on your breathing for a while. And it helps to rest your eyes when they're getting tired from a computer screen or because you're reading constantly. She even says if you're under fluorescent lights, that makes a person's eyes quite tired. But I challenge you to give that a try. It will be a good break for you. And goodness, it's cold enough. So doing those hand warming exercises is good enough for me right now. I'm finishing off quickly by sharing some homework challenge with you. I want you to explore ways you can increase your reading over the next month until we meet for the next Wisdom Wednesday. Try just 10 minutes more of reading a day. Even if it is reading for pleasure, and I'm going to take up this challenge and I'm going to report back in the next Wisdom Wednesday. Try reading even just for 10 minutes more every day. Get your eyes fit, get that comprehension going, get your brain reading fit as well. Try read some different materials, all right? So don't just sit with the textbook or, find some other materials that you could read. And then also, final part of this is I want you to look up words you don't know or don't understand. So I'm challenging you to increase your vocabulary. All right, so when you're reading and you come across a word and you're not too sure what it means, or you think you know, but you're not 100% sure, I challenge you to look up that word. You might not even have a dictionary anymore, but remember you can Google it and then just see what is that word. Let's expand our vocabulary as well, and you and I can all sound much smarter when we meet up again. I'm going to finish by saying that you're worth it, that you always were and you always will be. So putting that time into your studies, improving your reading skills, it's worth it because you're worth it, and we're going to support you to get you through this and to get you to that graduation. All right. I am going to be quiet now, and I'll ask Pumla if she wouldn't mind just sharing the last 3 slides with us, and then I'll quickly look at the chat. I know I've gone over time. Forgive me. Thank you, Pumla.
Thank you so much, Carol. Firstly, I'd like to invite you guys to our next session, which is going to be on the 17th of July. We will be talking about mid-year reflections, how to change your narrative, as well as positive self-talk and creating boundaries. Our session is going to be at the usual time, which is 11 to 12 o'clock. And then also a reminder about our program, which is a Refer a Friend program. If there is somebody that you know of that is looking to study, we ask you to please then refer them to the college, and you'll be able to earn money either in study credits or you can earn cash. So if you're still paying towards your fees, you are going to earn 500 Rand in study credits once that person has registered and their registration has been successful. But if you are done paying for your fees, you will then earn 500 Rand, which is going to be paid to your account in cash. And also, we are currently running our 50% special for the month of June. So get your friends registering, and also register if you are not currently studying with us. This is 50% off of the current registration fees for the course. If you want to refer your friends or family or anybody that you want to refer, you must not ask them to go on the website to add their details. They must come through us from you. So you can send those details to your course coordinator or your student advisor, or you can WhatsApp us those details, and then we will load that person under your name, and that's how we will know that that person has been referred by you. Thank you so much for joining today's session. Thank you so much, Carol.
Thank you, Pumla. Thank you, everybody. Lovely to see you all. Thank you for the comments. I really appreciate it. I'm reading through them quickly. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you all in a study circle or in a Wisdom Wednesday webinar next month. I almost said next week, next month. So please look after yourselves. Go get that reading done. Go get those studies done, and we will see each other soon. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hi, Simon, you had a question.
Sorry, Pumla, are you saying somebody's got a hand up?
Yes, there's two people with their hand ups. We've got Lebohile as well as Simon. Do you
Yes.
guys have a question?
Hi, Pumla. Hi, Carol.
Hello. Hi.
Tebogo, I can also see Tebogo there. Can you guys share us the slides, please, if you can?
Okay, definitely. We will share the slides.
No, we'll appreciate so much.
I
As
will
soon as I
send
receive
them.
that, thank you very much.
Okay.
You're welcome. I'll send
Bye.
them through, Pumla. Thank you.
Anybody else who has a question before we say goodbye? Okay, it looks like there's no more questions. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye.